Hi and welcome, Martina here on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. In today's video I will be swatching these two magical sets. They are called Northern Lights and Great White North. They have been on the market as squirts, but these are discontinued, so we now have the Magicals, and as they are now available at Crafty Meraki, I've been thinking it's a great opportunity to show you these colors in their full beauty and just swatch them together with you. So join me. To create my basis for the swatches, I have been using the Birthday Star Mini Slimline dies. The smallest of these dies, they all have such a cute stitching border. The smallest of these dies absolutely does the trick for me, and I've been cutting it 10 times because we have 10 colors from regular cardstock. I know it's maybe you would probably use watercolor cardstock or some specialty paper, but as I use most of the time just regular cardstock, I love to create my swatches on the material I'm finally or at the end working on it. So I just don't do anything special here. But let's get back to the swatching basis. I have the Monets Garden, a beautiful big stamp by Crafty Meraki in my stamping tool. I absolutely love these big background stamps by Crafty Meraki because they allow me to stamp bigger surfaces as this is in one go with a beautiful pattern. I have added some anti-static powder to my paper, then added some stamp ink to the stamp, transferred the ink via the tool to the paper, and then covered the whole paper with my embossing powder. I've been using a coffee filter. You could use copy paper or any paper you have just to collect all the powder that doesn't stick to your paper and then to funnel it back into the jar. Don't forget to put the jar away and close the lid before you do anything else. I'm speaking from experience. I am then using my heat gun to just melt the powder. This takes just some seconds, and as soon as the powder is completely melted, you can see that when you tilt the paper in the light, you see that it's no more opaque, but it is shiny, and then everything is melted and ready to go on. I have been doing this process on all of the 10 papers because, as I said, we have 10 colors to swatch. As I am then ready to swatch my colors, I'm starting with the Northern Lights set. As you see, I have a paper towel under my cardstock piece. This is something I usually don't have because if I don't work in bulks and for the camera especially, I just have a very dirty cloth which I use to just wipe my working surface. That works perfectly well, but I've been trying to get a nice, steady and clean video, so I'm working on a paper towel this time. You see that I am spraying water from the bottom and from the top to the cardstock. This should help that the cardstock isn't warping that much. And you can also see that I am using a brush on one of the colors. That's because as I'm using the paper I regularly use, I'm trying to use the techniques I regularly use. And I'm either sprinkling the powders or I am painting the powders. That's why I'm trying to get an impression of both of these techniques on my swatches. You could also do just watered down or plain sprinkling. You do you and however you work with these powders. I also like to mention that I am trying to avoid this pool building or puddling up of water. It's what happens now on the paper, and I'm using another paper towel just to soak the biggest puddle away or off of the paper so it doesn't take years to dry. And it's also a thing, if you use too much water on these powders, the powders lose part of their magic, because you will see with some of these powders, it's really that they have such beautiful rainbows and so much magic well hidden in these powders, but it's really the amount of water which is the big game changer to reveal the magic without dissolving it. I think this green example is a great one, and you can see that some parts you have these small puddles within the embossed areas where you have just these small puddles where you can see the different colors that are in the powders. That's one of the effects I absolutely love most when it comes to the magicals. Something interesting maybe to these two sets is that Tracy, the owner of Lindys, and Limor Weber, when they created these colors, I think they even were in Canada together, and all of these colors are an homage and an ode from these two crafty people to Canada. And I have been told, I'm from Switzerland, so I don't know much about Canada, but I have been told that these are all famous places, famous foods, famous things to do, or yeah, just things you could probably bring in relation with Canada. And they just try to capture that in that set. Yeah, that's probably interesting. This color I'm now swatching is probably my favorite color of these sets. I absolutely love that this black isn't just black, because it has so many different colors in it. We call them rainbowish colors. And I'm sure that you will see it even better at the end of the video, where I show you all the colors in detail and dried, because the shimmer, which is also part of the very special things about the magicals, is just not that much visible if you are looking at them in the wet state. Exactly. I'm now at set number 2. This is set Great White North. This means we are already halfway through, and I'm just repeating the same steps, wetting the paper from the back and from the bottom, and then adding the powder. I'm using a fan brush, but I have seen people that bought some jars, like spice jars, and filled their magicals into these jars. You could also use a regular brush or whatever works for you. I just like these fan brushes because they allow me to get a big amount of powder, which I then can sprinkle very thinly to the paper, because I like the color if it's applied evenly to the paper and not in bulks, because I don't like these bulks. I hope this makes sense to you. But at the end of the day, I anyway think if you want to get into these powders, you just have to give them a try. I still remember my first time with the magicals. I mean, I was very scared because of the mess. I was full of expectations, and I had no idea what I'm doing. So I think I would have done a good job if I would have watched some videos before I started. But I think I'm now settled with them and can just tell you they are fun. They are so versatile. You can do so many different things with them that I think you, if you like coloring and if you like medias that can be slightly surprising, but which also could be totally predictable, then this is a very interesting option for you. And as soon as I'm done with this swatch, I will go to the very, very last color of the Great White North, and we are through the swatching process. And as soon as the swatching process is over, I will skip the video forward and just share all the glamorous beauty of these colors with you. And I can promise you it's going to be an amazing, we can say, rainbow to watch. And we all know I love a good rainbow. So just bear with me some more seconds for this last color before we can go on to the dried colors. And here we are. You now have the names on the bottom of the screen and again the colors on the right hand side. And I really hope you are able to see all the colors and all the hidden colors within the colors and the colors of the shimmers. I absolutely love each and every one of them, but I think the black is my absolute favorite of these sets. And as soon as we are done with this part, I totally had to see if I can create a rainbow with these two sets, because they are not arranged in rainbows. But I think there is a very beautiful rainbow hidden between these sets. I absolutely love the colors. I thank you so much for staying with me, and I wish you an absolutely wonderful day. I hope we see you soon. Bye.